On today's Success or Excuses podcast, we have Nicki Paterson. Nicki, welcome to Success or Excuses.
Thanks for having me on.
Listen, Nicki, tell us a bit about yourself. Who are you?
Well, just turned 41. Yep. I would say my life's been split in two parts. Phase one, maybe the more exciting, enjoyable part. Played professional football for 20 years. Fortunate to play in Scotland, the UK. Get the opportunity to go out to the States at 20. Lived in Vegas, New York, Austin, Charleston, Canada for a couple of years. Had my first son there. Next day, tore my ACL. And soon was back in Scotland looking for what was next. Still play a little bit, but moved into the recruitment world. Yep. Fell into it like I guess everyone else did.
Everybody says the same thing. How did you get into it? I just fell into it.
And that was kind of through the boss. He owned a team here in the UK, so right. Kind of got introduced. Ended up joining the company. It's been 8-9 years now with a one company, which is longer than I was ever in a team.
Yes.
And here we are, 8-9 years later.
Fantastic. So let's go back to the start. I want to go to the start because it's most young boys' dreams in it to play football. I just wasn't good enough. I love football, but I played football right up until probably 5-6 years ago, and I just had to stop because I was just injuring myself all the time. Yeah. I'm a big gym goer though. I'm in the gym every other day. So obviously you started off leaving school, playing football.
Yep.
How did you move abroad? How did that come about? Where you're playing for did you play for a Scottish team first?
Yes. So
how did that happen? I want to know that story. People will love this.
I was born in January, and all my mates were. So I was in '85. They were all 84s. So I was always, unbeknownly, playing up a kind of level. Yeah. Then when you get to schools and you've got the underage groups, etc., that became more apparent. I got picked up in Motherwell at quite a young age, so that was my kind of a schooling, if you will. The plan was go and play with Motherwell and grow. Ended up moving from Motherwell to Hamilton, and that seemed that good move at the time. Yeah. Young kid playing first team football, get kind of thrown in at 17. Hamilton, that's the way they go. And after 3 years at Hamilton, the second year, 3 managers, 3 years, 3 different philosophies. 3 years.
What was that like? Because we're in a leadership podcast type thing. That must have been quite sad because they all have their own characteristics and ideas of what great teamwork is. Yeah. What was that like?
So almost my first year there was excellent because the manager that had left the year before, it was actually 4 managers in 4 years. Yeah. The under 16 manager ended up becoming the manager for a year. So I was playing under 18, 16s, and all of a sudden I was playing first team. Yep. So that person seen something, and me, Chris Hillcoat, got a lot to thank him for. And that was great because I was a young boy in an old man's dressing room, and that probably gave me all the scars and learn to talk and learn when not to talk, learn to listen. And that I was a sponge then, right? Young guys are not that nowadays, believe me.
I know.
And I think, second year it was kind of the Clyde regime came in. They were a bit more probably disciplined, a bit more starting to get the iPads of their days out. And that was a little bit different. And then again, following year, different again, where they went totally experienced, cut the kind of a youth. Plus they went part-time. And for me at 19, 20, I thought I was going like this in my career, and all of a sudden, part-time, half the money, get a job. Yeah. Just didn't seem like what I wanted to do. Yeah. And, when I'd been at Motherwell, there'd been financial difficulties to Tanner Sports. When I'd been at Hamilton, there'd been I'm like, I'm a bit of a cuss here, what's going on?
Maybe it's me.
And then there's a company called First Point USA that were sending kids to the States in a scholarship. And I wasn't necessarily signed with them at the time, but I was invited along to a trial game at Rangers Murray Park. Mm-hmm. And I'd been kind of sold it as UK coaches, European coaches, US as well. It was all American coaches. Yeah. And thankfully I had a really good day, scored 2 goals for distance, scored a penalty, and I got a knock on the door. It was like, Nicki, can you come out a second? And there was about 16 coaches lined up. Oh, would you like to come here? Would you like to come there? And it was a bit almost overwhelming. But I was like, right, this is actually quite serious. So I had to kind of on the spot start to think, could this actually happen?
That's huge, isn't it?
I was still contracted with Hamilton at the time. Like, they didn't know I was even there. And the very last guy I met was a guy, it was January, it was snowing, it was freezing, full boiler suit on, you could only see his face, opened it up, I'm Coach D from UNLV in Vegas. Want to come and play for us there? And there was probably 5 or 6 better schools in that list of people I met. And then the weeks after, I was kind of sold right away. Come here, free education, degree, live here. I genuinely thought it might be a year. And I ended up graduating 3.5 years, drafted back into the pros for there. So what an experience. I wouldn't change it for the world, probably looking back.
So what was the key lessons you learned then, just in that kind of first short part? So if there's somebody, maybe a young person sitting listening to us, and because it takes kahunas, man, right, to just jump. Because I did the same, by the way, when I was in my 20s. I moved abroad. But it does take a certain type of mindset to just say, you know what have I got to lose? What was the experience like? What did that feel like?
I don't really have anything other than opportunities in my life, right?
That's exactly it, innit?
You know, I think in life you're just met with a series of situations.
Success or excuses.
Right? You can't really decide if I get hit with a bus or that person passes away or you got offered something out of the blue. I think these things happen, and I think it's how you process it and the instant emotion that comes then after it. For me, I've always just seen opportunity or is there an opportunity in this, and kind of weigh that up and go.
So you don't really look at the risk, you always think, what can I learn here? Here's the opportunity, I'm in.
I would probably say as I was younger, more blindly jump at it. Now I'm maybe sitting going, right, okay, what could go wrong here? But I think because it was such a high for me growing up, it was hard work. You give up nights out, you give up relationships, you give up job, money, whatever. And the first few years wasn't about money, right?
No.
And that's the thing. Like, I think footballers, 90% of the time, it isn't about money. When it starts to become about money, that's when the decisions become tougher. For me, it was almost, I'm nearly there, I'm making it, I'm playing first team, I'm out the team, I'm back in the team, I'm out the team. The chance to go and try, I don't know, it just seemed like ding, ding, ding.
The best thing today, let's go and do this.
Let's go. And I guess there could have been a million places I could have went in the States and maybe no enjoyed it, possibly.
Yeah.
But it was Vegas, and I thought, see if it's a year, if it's 6 months, I can always come back, and this is a life experience. And I think, in my mind, see the kind of leaders and successful people, they've got tons of scars.
Hundreds.
Tons of life. Look at you, all the places you've been. And I think it's those
scars.
it's those life experiences you just can't, you can't mimic. You can't go hire another person because they've all got slightly different life experiences.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of it for me was opportunity. But I guess a bit of the right mindset. Like, if you don't go with the right mindset, you're going to half-arse it as well.
Absolutely. So I want to go back to something you said about people don't realise how hard it is to be really, really good at something.
Yeah.
The effort, the sacrifices. When I put this even in a business context and career context, like everything that you achieve in life is through graft. Yeah. I mean, I know loads of people, right, that work really hard and they're not successful, right? So you've got to have a mix of that mindset, that opportunity kind of mindset, and the hard graft.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will face that opportunity. I bet there was players on that day when you were at Murrayfield and probably got opportunities as well and went, maybe not the right time for me.
Definitely.
You just done it. And it's that mindset in it, including the hard work. So add the mindset and the hard work together is when you start to see fruits.
I think for me, when I think leadership a lot of the time, I think of mentorship, right? I think when I was younger, I just watched the game a lot. I don't think young guys watch football enough nowadays, right? But for me, it was, like you said, it was every kid's dream. You're playing football, that's it.
Yeah.
And if you were not good, it was demoralising for people.
I was not good enough. I still loved it.
I wasn't the best player in my year. I wasn't the best player at my school. I wasn't the best player at Motherwell. There's been very few moments of clubs in my full career where I felt I was the best player. And I think for me that, maybe get back to mentorship right away, my dad was fairly hard on me. No like hard, but like, score 2, but you missed that one. Let's go out and kick a ball using your left foot for an hour straight. Stuff like just constantly make me want to be better. And watch this, did you see that? And he taught me through games as well. Come to this game, Nicky, you're a number 8, watch him, etc. And I think for me, then when I got into the team, I worked hard, but I worked hard because I looked up to people that were doing it.
Yeah.
and there was some guys that had unbelievable technical ability. I was probably self-aware enough to know I don't have his wand of a foot.
Yeah.
I don't have.
That's all right.
I don't have his pace. I'm not built like him. What can I do? And one of the things my dad instilled in me was, yeah, you're a box-to-box midfielder. Good. You can control your fitness. You can control your attitude, and you can control your ability to work on strengths and weaknesses. So things like corners, free kicks, things that made me stand out that wee bit.
Yeah.
That was what I poured myself into. But I also grew up in the area of Beckham hitting free kicks and Rooney coming in, and it was Rooney would seem to be the grafter, you know, Beckham technical. So there was those types of things. I just I was almost obsessed.
Aye.
But
you need to be obsessed, didn't you? I want to go, but I want to stick on obsessed, but keep going.
But it was just, for me, knowing that I was not the best, it was like, well, I'm never going to be, you know, I'm never going to be, he gave up, I'm never going to be the one that didn't give it everything, and that just probably gave me the foundation to build on for there.
Absolutely. It's that word obsession, right? I know it seems quite harsh, right? But I think you need to be obsessed. See, to be really good at anything, you need to have an obsession to want to be the best. Even though you know you're, as you said, I wasn't the best at this or I was the best at that, but I had all these other things that I was in control of. And you become obsessed in being better and being great and trying to be the best you can be. And every single, I would say, I mean, I left school, right? No qualifications, nothing. And I got a job as a Sparky, right, by default. My old man came in and one day, I'd left school and he threw, remember the big yellow pages?
Oh, aye.
So he threw the yellow pages and he says, no effing son of mine will live under my roof and no work. Get yourself a job. So I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what I want to do with my life here. I don't know what am I going to do, what am I going to do. Now, I don't know if you can remember, I know I'm a bit older than you, but you come back to the TVs, the big fat TVs, right?
Definitely.
And the wee TV repair guy would come out with his wee briefcase and he would take your telly apart, right? And every time he left...
3 buttons on it.
That's right. And the TV guy, the repair guy would leave and my mum would always go, that just cost me a fortune. So I thought, oh, maybe TV repair guys make money. So I got to TV repair and gets through all the phone. It was the old phone.
That's mad.
Right? Phone. No. I got through all TV repairs. I went to appliance tested through all them, and I eventually got to electrical, went through all them. I must have had about 200-300 no's. Right?
Wow.
Just no. And a company phoned me back. A company called Weir and McQuiston from Motherwell phoned me back, and I picked the phone up. So I'm still sitting at the phone going through the numbers, and the phone rings. I pick it up and says, hi, a young boy's just called me here saying he was looking for an apprenticeship, a job. Aye, that's me. And he says, listen, we never get people calling here. He says, and that takes attitude. He says, do you fancy coming for an interview? Aye, I'll be. And I put the phone down and forgot to ask what who the hell it was. So I had to go back to the phone and what was the name of the company? He said, what was the name of the company? And eventually I phoned it back and I got the address.
That's mad.
This was on a Friday, right?
But that's a bit of resilience just right there.
Absolutely. So I went away done with a suit that was 2 weeks. Didn't wear suits then, right? You know, the funeral suit. Went for an interview, right? Went for an interview. They did a colour blindness test first. I'm thinking, so what the hell am I doing this for? So I did a colour blindness test, and then I did a thing called, it was an aptitude test.
What am I doing this for?
Now they call it a sec test, right? So and I passed it. I passed the test, and the guy says to me, well done, me man, you starting Monday. Now, by the way, remember, I'm thinking I'm fixing TVs, right? So I goes away home, jumps on the bus, because he didn't have phones then, so he had to go home, and I was sitting waiting, my dad coming in, right? Watching him walk across the grass. Dad, I've got a job, I'm going to fix tellies, Dad. I'm going to fix tellies. He's like, well done, wee man. Go and see, I tell you. Anyways, so on the Monday morning, my dad says, I'll take you down to the workshop on Monday morning. So we goes down to the Airland Industrial Estate, goes round behind the offices, and I get out my dad's van. I see all these guys standing in the boots and hard hats and coveralls and all that one. I'm thinking, what kind of TVs are these guys fixing? So a guy comes in and shouts, James Fleming! And I goes away in and he takes me upstairs into this wee it was a storeroom and the office was above it.
Yeah.
So he takes into this wee storeroom office and he gets me this big blue metal toolbox, opens it up, and hammer and chisel and screwdrivers and everything. I don't remember the TV repair guy coming with all that stuff. And he gave me coveralls and he gave me boots and he gave me a hard hat, right? And he says, right, this guy here is going to take you to your first job. All right, okay. So I goes away with all my gear and we ended up in Kirton Job Centre. Now, then there was no job centre, it was in the middle of a field, right?
Yep.
There was nothing round about it. And I'm like, I'm not going to be fixing TVs here, man. What the hell is it I'm going to do? And that's when I found out it was a Sparky. I was an apprentice Sparky.
Wow.
And that was all through, because I left school, I had no idea.
Do you know, you ran with that.
I ran with it.
See nowadays it's why am I doing this?
Aye.
What are we doing that for? Where are we going? The questions, the hesitation. I think, like you say, you throw yourself into stuff, and sometimes when you do it, the best things happen.
Nicky, listen, see when I had to go to college, right, to be a Sparky. Now, everybody at the college had either physics or maths or... I left school, I had dyslexia at school, so I realised in later life I wasn't thick because I got end up with a degree and all that. But I used to think I was thick. I thought, I'm no academic, right?
Yeah.
But in actual fact, I was never been academic, but I was always wanted to be really good. See, whatever I did,
You were bright and emotionally intelligent.
So I had to put in. So when other guys that I went to college with, they could go to the weekend and be smoking dope and getting drunk, and I had to sit and study, or I was going to fail. Like, I was sitting thinking, how am I going to? I don't even know how to use this calculator. They'd asked me to do cosine and tan, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
But I remember lots of Fridays or Saturdays, for example, because pro youth you played Sunday, but you would play sometimes reserves Thursday, like different stuff. And when you get into that 15, 16 age, that's when you see some great talent drop out because they don't have the discipline.
Yes.
They don't have the consistency. They just don't have the mentality to.
That's what happens with lots of some of the best talent,
you sit
isn't
in
it?
the pub and you go, oh, he was some player. I bet he never played past 18, 40 now. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you see that time and time again. But I think the same for one, I'm obsessed with leadership. Right, I am, because I think that's...
we're going to go down that route right now.
But I think that sport and business, you see lots of the same traits. I think in business you get the people, and you need them, and there's nothing wrong with that, but 95. I'm in, I do these sets of tasks, I'm out. The people that are doing that, but going, what's the person above me doing? What's they doing over there? That's very similar to that. And then if you get somebody that wants to invest in you and you want to invest in them, that's when you start to build up in there. And I think that's exactly the same in sport and business. So that, to me, as I look back now, the last few years, there's so many of those traits in the younger years, the way you're brought up, family, sport, whatever, that I think can then really set you up for success in the future.
What is great leadership then to you? If you think of great leadership, what would you say a great leadership is? And in your role, you're a leader, right? You know that you're in a leadership role. What makes a great leader? In your opinion right now, what would you think makes you a great leader?
And I think this thought process has evolved quite a bit, and a lot of late. I ran a Future of Leadership Roundtable series last year with people from Baker Hughes, people from companies all over the world on it, and it really, really opened my eyes that leaders can be vulnerable a bit as well, right?
So we should.
And they don't know the answers, because I think...
And there we should.
If you asked me 3 or 4 years ago, you know, the people under leadership are looking for the answers from leadership. I think, and back then, I think people were expected as leaders to give those answers and always be right and whatnot. I think what's really changed for me now is, I think to be a good leader, you need good self-awareness, first and foremost.
100%.
Right? I think to be a good business and a good leadership team, you just need alignment and clarity on where we are trying to go.
What that vision is.
Right.
What exactly does that look like?
No, everybody wants to be Amazon. Some people want to be a decent local electrician company,
that's
right?
all right.
But for me, having a bit of self-awareness on where we want to go, having a bit of ambition is absolutely fine, unless it's just totally, you know, far too far, right? But ambition's a good thing. I think the difference for me between a good leader and a poor leader is how they communicate that vision.
Absolutely.
Because if you can have all these, you know, grand plans, and they can be your plans, and if you are the owner of the business or one of the leaders, people under you are probably never ever going to be as passionate about that as you are.
Yep.
And if you can find a good batch of people tied into the motivations to what you're trying to get to that, then amazing, you're on to an absolute winner. But whether you're a small team or a large organisation, it's obviously much more difficult in a large organisation. But taking that North Star, taking that vision, whatever it is, and starting to communicate it here, are we all aligned? Who does the right things? And I think that's the bit that's changed for me, right? I think the clarity, the communication is paramount. But you'll get some leaders that are good people managers, and you'll get some leaders that are good lead by example. It's very difficult to do both.
Yep.
And I've been in a both situation for a good number of years, and it's probably been only very, very recently we're like, actually, we're going to get the best out of everyone if we tweak this a little bit so everybody plays to their strengths. And if you can get everybody playing to their strengths and you know what they are, that makes people more motivated, more ambitious, and then the success comes.
It's like having a really good football manager, isn't it? Have everybody in their positions, make sure everybody's aligned with where these are going to go and why you're going there.
Well, look at the merry-go-round of football managers at the moment. I think the teams that have, I mean, why have the David Moyes and the Fergusons done well over the years? No, yes, you get the Peps and but more often than not, these guys have got a whack of money to spend as well. What I love about football managers is the ones that, look at the guy at Motherwell right now, for example.
Unbelievable.
Nobody knows him and he goes, here's the vision.
Unbelievable.
Here's what we do. And they religiously drill.
They're probably one of the best football teams in Scottish football right now, at actual football. I love watching Motherwell now.
I'm not a Motherwell out-and-out supporter.
I'm a Rangers man.
And I'm Celtic, but my wife is a Rangers cheerleader, believe it or not. But my brother's Motherwell daft. My papa was a Motherwell fan. Support the local team, and they were almost team two for me. It is by a country mile the best I've ever seen a Motherwell team.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
And they've wiped the floor with Celtic Rangers a couple of times. But again, it's discipline, it's rigour, it's strategy. What I really like though is within a game he goes, guys, we're now doing this, and everybody gets it.
Aye.
Look at the state of some of the other teams right now, because all of a sudden we're doing something a wee bit different. And I think you need to have those.
Rangers and Celtic are classic examples of it as well, without getting into any particular managers or slagging them off. You look at the Celtic team and the Rangers team, it's the same players.
Yep.
All right, both of us have signed new players, but if you look at how bad we were doing, and all we did was change a manager, and it was again vision, tactics, understanding, getting the best out of their players, making them believe in themselves a wee bit more, and how we can turn things around. It's just blow you away. I mean, Martin O'Neill coming in, he's just a manager, but he's able to bring the best out of those players.
See, the way I look at it now is the way a manager talks to his team, sets his team up is one thing. I think if you look at the sport world, yes, you need to answer to your board, but you also have then that you're in the public spotlight. If you can't talk well to the press, you're finished at Celtic or Rangers, for example. Now, the Motherwell manager might go to one of those and get in the public eye, and it might go off because he can't do that, but in business, you've kind of got to talk to your team. You need to talk up the way, and then you're out to customers. So to me, I see it through a very similar lens. It comes back to that communication factor.
Absolutely.
And almost a calmness in leadership is important.
Yep.
Like Martin O'Neill comes in, calm, experienced. We could be 1-0 down. I've been 1-0 down 100 times before.
Yeah.
He doesn't give people a yard. No, don't get me wrong. Everybody like the Postecoglou's, the Mourinho's, because they're good TV and box office and whatever.
Ange's brilliant, man. He was a great manager.
But you look at the guy Celtic signed that, he just could not handle he wasn't ready for it. He's never been through it before.
Oh, he was way his depth, man.
And he might have, do you know what, with other clubs he might have been so successful, but like at the high end of business or sport, you need to be calm, and you need to be able to talk, or you'll be finished quickly.
100%. Communication, right, in my opinion, is the key to great leadership.
Yeah.
And what I believe makes somebody a great leader, and you said this, I want to, first point I wanted to make is, so we train or sit with hundreds and hundreds of leaders for big companies every year, and one of the biggest things that come up is burnout. So they're burning out, they're under stress, whether it's growth or it's cash flow. And most leaders, right, and I say this very, 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 very loosely, most leaders, they try to take everything on themselves.
Yeah.
Great leaders don't. Great leaders have people running about them who are accountable, who are resilient, who are adaptable, and they get them. So rather than, like, and as you said it in a few minutes ago, rather than somebody coming to you, right, and saying, I've got a problem, and you saying, well, here's the solution, because you own it. If you tell them the solution, you own it.
Yep.
Get them to come up with the solution.
Yep.
Get them to tell you what they think. So it's something like, so tell me, Nicky, it's not, Nicky, I've got this problem. All right, okay. And what a lot of people do, a lot of managers and leaders do, is they say, oh, well, here's how to fix that.
Yeah.
What great leaders do. And by the way, this is a characteristic. Every great leader I've ever interviewed or studied do exactly the same thing.
I know what you're going to say.
They don't come up with solutions. They say, so, Nicky, go and tell me exactly what's the problem again. The problem is this. Right, well, that's definitely a problem, Nicky. I agree with that. Okay, Nicky, what do you suggest that we do about that problem? I don't know. That's why I'm coming to you. Okay, Nicky, but what if you did know? What would you do?
Yeah.
Or if I did know, I'd probably. I think that's a great idea.
See whether you're coaching young kids, professional, you're in business. See, just saying, what do you think you should do?
Aye.
It is amazing. Like, see, with kids, I always say to kids, you know, I coach my son's under 10 team. Get a picture in your mind of what you want to do next. For example, it's been that proactive way. But same thing when shit hits the fan. What do you think you should do? And 9 times out of 10, that person's got it right. They're just looking for a bit of clarification that they are right. And see, when you do that, then, like you say, they take the accountability, but a sense of confidence builds.
Absolutely.
You need
That's how you build great teams.
And sometimes what they say maybe not be the right thing.
And that's all right.
See, letting them going and doing it. And
aye.
Listen, well, you know, yeah, I agree with you there, but maybe have a wee think about that as well.
Absolutely. That's exactly the next point here.
It's like, see if my wife want to go to 2 different places on holiday, how do I convince her that this is her idea?
Sales 101.
Hopefully she doesn't listen to this. But it's true. I mean, if something is someone else's idea, the accountability across the board rises.
Absolutely, 100%.
And getting back to the kind of a burnout factor, whether it's again sport or business, right? Like tailoring it to the business side, seen that a lot. I've seen all we've done for the last 2-3 years is replace leaders that are burnt out, stressed, not performing. If you break it down, they've not hit their number. But why did they hit their numbers? Because they bottlenecked everything to them.
Yeah.
They didn't build the team that they were asked to come and
You're
to
not
come
building
and
a
build in.
high-performing team. You're building a team that rely on you. That means you end up burning it and you become the bottleneck in your business. Like
the 3 roundtable series I hosted last year, the first one was hiring the right leader, setting them up for success. That was all about why the hell are we even hiring this person in the first place? What does success look like? Not we've lost the CFO and let's just get a carbon copy of this. Tick the box, new one, next. Because when you're doing that, you're just the same. Genuinely, if you're at Baker Hughes and you go, do you know what, we need to transform the business, we need to do this, okay, I want to bring in somebody that has done that. The second session was about the DNA of a high-performing leadership team, and I just loved this because you know yourself how many people have ego, silos, I want to do this, I want to be the main person.
Colours of great teams.
And it doesn't work. And you can't scale through that. And it's through been there and done that. You realise that yourself if you have a bit of self-awareness. But the last one for me was the turning good teams into great teams. How do you genuinely communicate that vision down the way, and how do you get the best out of your best people, knowing that a certain percent of them won't always ever be there, a certain percent of them don't want to grow, but I think people want opportunity and growth unless they get it knocked out of them.
That's what happens. That's my findings.
Yeah.
It's people come into a business organisation with, we'll call it their baggage.
Who doesn't want to be successful?
Everybody does.
Do you know what I mean?
Some people are terrified because probably a previous boss, a manager, something's happened in their past, and they're terrified to put their head above the parapet. So they just don't want to take any kind of risk at all.
Yeah.
And that unfortunately great leaders and great managers need to take risks.
So much success has been lost through fear of failure. But if you actually think about how you get success, it's failing and improving, and it's failing and it's proving. I think the difference is...
Well, football, go back to your football scenario. How do you become a good footballer? Just keep trying.
I was good at free kicks because I had millions of them. Simply. And I had millions of rubbish ones. Do you know? And I think... You know, I've played for some good sides and won championships and things like that. It's never been the best team that's won a championship, and some of the best players I've played with haven't, you know, things like that. But how many times have I lost a game of football and come in, no one to talk to anybody? So there's been a million lows. I think, see, if people not had that, and it could be military, it could be sport, it could be whatever somebody's... I think if you don't have exposure to that type of thing as you're growing up,
it's okay to get it wrong.
You get into business and maybe you're like, I don't know how to deal with it. You got one rejection, one no on the phone, done. You wouldn't have had that job.
But I mean, good salespeople are probably the hardest people to hire in any business, in my opinion. I mean, the amount of salespeople we've been through, and they all come with great pedigrees. So you're a recruitment, right? They come with great pedigrees.
Yeah.
And they interview really well. And then 3 months down the line, you're like, they've still not sold anything. What's going on here?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think even in my line of work, we need salespeople that aren't just Glasgow mindset, because we work in 60 countries.
Absolutely.
We're working with CEOs to hiring managers, every function. You need the emotional intelligence and the agility to switch it up and speak in layman's terms, but then be talking boardroom 2 minutes later. There's not a lot of exposure in that locally. So, but then hiring outside of your country, it's hard to get that cultural fit.
Yep.
So trying to get that back, genuinely, that's so hard for every
Living
company.
abroad helps with that though, doesn't it? See me, because like particularly Middle East for me, when I was in Middle East, I had Canadians, I had Americans, I had Pakistan, I had Indians, I had Arabs, all in my leadership team.
Yeah.
And you've got to learn. As I talked
Exposure
about,
to that though is the experience is invaluable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And see, you know, I used to walk into the office, right, and I didn't care if you were the guy that fixed the sweep the floor or fixed the photocopier machine. I treated everybody exactly. Morning, how you doing? How's your day going? How's things?
Yeah.
That's how I treated everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. And I also, like, see when we're having like boardroom meetings and things like that, I would challenge everything. Everything. And I want to know why I did that, because I used to say to my team, I need yous to challenge me because I don't know everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't know everything. I mean, I've been through my whole career winging it. I really don't know everything.
But again, though, if you're the whole bet on talent or give opportunity, when are you ever really ready?
Aye.
And if you don't give it a go, or somebody doesn't give you a go, you're never going to, very rarely anyway.
An interview with Ronaldo, right? Let's go back to football, right? I remember it was Piers Morgan interviewed Ronaldo, right? And Ronaldo, he would ask him, what makes you arguably in the top 1% of football players in the world?
Yeah.
And he was talking about, he says, talent. He says, most footballers have talent. He says, talent's not what makes you the best footballer. He says, it's the mind. He says, do you think I want to be in the gym every day? The hell. I spend time with my family. Do you want to, at my age now, I want to sit out in a park and train my weaknesses over and over again at my age? He says, no, I don't. He says, but I do it because I want to be the best. And he says, and that's mindset. He says, that's all that is.
I loved, there was a Ballon d'Or thing, and there was him, there was Messi, there was somebody else, and I said, what's been your most important goal in your career? And it was, this overhead kick, this last minute. And Ronaldo went, the next one. And I was like that. And it's such a, you come across arrogant at times, Ronaldo, but you kind of need some of that. He's one of the best players on the planet.
You need some of that
as well. But he's I mean, you're saying he was built like that when he was younger.
Personal branding, man. His brand is mind blowing.
Frightening. But you're spot on, totally spot on. I think come back to something you said there is the difficult conversations and the questioning as well. You never get anywhere by being a yes person either.
No.
Right? I mean, I was probably a bit outspoken as a football player.
Absolutely.
As I got older and felt that I earned it, I was always a talker, because my dad said, if you talk, you get me recognised and whatever. Yeah. And then when I went to the States, again, like you said, for me, that has been I think the single biggest contributor. Sport, yes, but being in the States and having that life experience and being in so many states, for our business now, 50% of the roles we fill are in America.
Right, okay.
And if you're working with American companies and you can do it for them in home soil,
that's your business.
Then,
I mean, that's amazing.
Honestly, I mean, Scotland right now is probably one of the countries we recruit the least in.
Aye.
It is such a mental story.
Exactly the same for us. Scotland is probably so about 85% of our business is in England and Wales.
Yeah.
And only 15% is in Scotland.
And again, size of company, opportunities there as well. I think there's tons more opportunities in Scotland, and I love seeing Scottish businesses do well. But just the nature of it, it's been mad. But what I will say is, I think, without being biased, Scottish people are quite liked most places.
Absolutely.
It goes a long way.
Think back when you were in America, they heard the Scottish accent. Oh!
Well, there was one time I lived with an Irish guy and a guy from New Zealand. It was like a start of a joke going anywhere. But again, it was always, Scotland, and you could see the two of them straight away. But yeah, it's been a big factor of the success we've had for this company, definitely. Yeah,
listen, when I was living in North Carolina in Greenville, and I used to go to the bar, right, and I'd been in the bar, and oh my God, you're Scottish! Oh my God! And they bring all their friends there, and they're like, how you doing?
Honestly, I mean, sometimes that was all it took. You jogged a bit. Where do you? And folk are so interested in this. Do you know my cousin Richard?
That was my next point.
There is 5 million people there. You do know that, right? But it's been, I mean, the plan for me is, well, we got quite a bit to the States, but World Cup this year as well. Canada's hosting. My son's half Canadian because he was born when we played in Canada, so I'm looking forward to taking him out this year. Amazing, man, amazing. Listen, but we're going to start getting wrapped up. So ask all my guests their top 3 pieces of advice in business, life, and in leadership. So if you were giving somebody, maybe a young person,
somebody in business, maybe moving out of sport and into business, anything, they're maybe sitting listening to us and they're like, what advice would you give me? What's your top 3 pieces of advice in business and or in life?
I think the first one would be, if there's something you're passionate about, and everybody has something they're passionate about at a certain stage, is surround yourself by people that are successful at it. Mm-hmm. If you hang about with people that are shit at something, you'll be shit at it.
Absolutely.
If you hang about with people that are really good football players or whatever it may be, you will just learn the traits, the habits, and just be
the expectation.
Be a sponge, ask questions, copy, emulate, and before you know it, you'll be mentoring others and you'll be good at it. You might not be pro, you might not make money at it, but that would be one thing. I think surround yourself with the right people. The second one would probably be I'm trying to think of this more through a leadership lens, probably lens. Now, right? But I think don't be scared to ask difficult questions. Mm-hmm. Ask why. I think particularly at leadership, or we want to get into leadership, you need to do more than your role is then. So
way more.
Right, so ask yourself, what can I be doing in or around that puts me in the shop window or gives me additional skills that can help me progress? But I think that kind of asking questions, understanding what the vision is, and then the alignment piece, I think that bit's huge. Then I think the third one is you will always be more successful if you enjoy what you do.
Absolutely.
So that probably ties back to the first bit. I never for a minute thought I would be at a global recruitment company, it's genuinely selling recruitment or keeping customers happy. But if you tailor that back, we as a business are giving people the opportunity to go and progress in their career. Mm-hmm. And that was something that I had to work really, really hard for. We can almost hand that to people in a plate now. Mm-hmm. So I think for me, find something, if you can find something that you're passionate about, whether it's solving that challenge or it's making that better or whatever, I think for me, there's no better feeling. If you're passionate about something, you'll be more obsessed. If you're more obsessed, you'll study harder. Absolutely. You'll put more into it. And I would say, in all of the things that you do, make sure family comes first as well.
Oh my God, family, it's massive. I mean, me and my wife work together, like literally next to each other, and we're always family. I mean, even our staff, we tell them family. See, if somebody comes to us, we have a policy in our business, and it's family is always first.
Yeah,
it's always first. Go do what you need to do. You know, whatever it is. I mean, even there was one of our employees, and our best friend was dying with cancer.
Oh.
And she was telling us, she tells us that she just found out, and our friend had only been getting a few months, and me and my wife phoned her up after the meeting, because she was really quite upset in the meeting. We says, listen, what's something you've always wanted to do with your buddy before she goes? She says, I want to take her away in a full spa day, a couple of days. She says, go book it, and we'll pay for it. Here's the credit card details. Because I mean, it was only cost us, maybe 350, 400 quid?
Yeah.
But you'd have thought I'd give her £1 million.
Experience. Yeah.
I thought I'd give her £1 million, because we're just like, go, take the day off, go do it, before you lose your buddy.
An amazing story, and by the way, the two guys I work for, I could write him off 100 of them. Again, see as a good leader, see it's understanding what's important to your people.
Aye.
Like for some, it's I like the odd spa. Some they like money. Some it's a family or whatever it is. But I think
just be able to take time off whenever they need it to go and see their kids play at football.
Sometimes it's the wee small thing as well. See if you can afford little bits of flexibility. Mm. It's very difficult to have a blanket one, and sometimes it can be seen as preferential treatment and whatnot. If you can just find a way of being a good person. Christ, it's
fully flexible. We have a
way.
fully flexible policy. So from 8 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night, you get 40 hours. How you want to work them is entirely up to you.
Yeah,
that's it. How you want to work them is up to you. We have people that
trust, though, innit?
Commit. You've got to trust. And don't get me wrong. There is people that abuse the trust, but we try not to. One bad apple doesn't spoil the cart if you can remove the bad apple, or you can remove the bad influence, we'll call it. And that's horrible. That's horrible.
But sometimes it's a necessity.
Absolutely. Listen, Nicky, we're right at the end of the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's amazing to hear how you've taken what you learned through football and been able to bring that into your business head now and leadership. And some of the things you said, by the way, it's very rare, believe it or not, that I have a leader sitting across me that really gets leadership. It's very rare because we go into it and most people
I've got plenty to learn still. I don't proclaim it.
No. But some of the things you mentioned during our conversation, it takes some people a long time to learn that.
Yeah.
Right? Don't have all the answers because you don't need to.
Yeah.
Because a lot of leaders think they've got to know all the answers, don't they?
Yeah.
They think they really believe. So it's been an absolute pleasure, and
Thank you.
absolutely convinced that your people are going to get value. Now, before we go, somebody wants to get in contact with you, want to know about Solutions Driven. How did they get in contact with you? By the way, your details will be on the podcast as well.
Super. I mean, look out for me on LinkedIn, Nicki Paterson. I guess solutionsdriven.com. We do executive search, we do senior individual contributors, we do dedicated recruitment through our embedded model as well. 60 countries, a ton of very exciting and innovative industries as well. So again, if anybody is looking for just some support on an individual search, a bit of data that helps them be proactive about the next search, or maybe they're going into a market that they don't know anything about, I'd be always happy to have that chat and do what I can for free up front, and then see if we could be a good partner for each other.
By the way, I need to put another question now because I love that answer. What makes yous guys the best?
Do you know something, that we're a company of no egos, and they put people over profit. It's not blind people over profit, but I think you mentioned it before. There's thousands of recruitment agencies, and my wife said, "Don't go there." The difference for me is, right off the bat, I found out that they did this 1 year free replacement guarantee. You talk about the turnover of people and whatnot, and I was like, wow, that just sounds mad to me. My wife was like, dig into that a little bit. And when I first spoke to Gavin, I just could tell there was an obsession and a passion. I met his dad, and there was an obsession and a passion.
There definitely is.
And a lot of it, but they were already working with massive names, and you just couldn't tell. And for me, it was almost, there was process, there was methodology. I think recruitment's a lot, and life is a lot about network, black book, who do I know, etc. I think nowadays, if you take any successful sports unit, for example, it's data, it's analysis, it's performance, it's right people, right spots, structure, leadership, clarity. We've got that in abundance, and almost what they've done over 30 years is hone that process that you could just plug someone in, they could be successful. But if you plug the right people in with the right motivations that are ambitious, and you work with make sure we work with the right people. We don't pick up roles we don't think we're good at. We don't work in countries we don't think we've got a good network in. So I think we've kind of slowed it down. We work few roles per recruiter, and that gives you the time to do quality. You do quality, you get to know the company better, and it's not just about, does that person tick a box? We actually are saying, are they technically right? Are they culturally right? And by the way, here's their motivations of why they would like to leave X to join Y. Could be their but they can't move up, do you know what I mean? They're travelling too much, they're just a kid, they want to travel, etc. We can never slow it down, get it right first time, and then give it the best guarantee on the market as well. And I think we filled 300-400 roles last year. 2 people didn't reach their 12-month landmark. So we're not perfect, but we're a company that does all the things we spoke about today well. Good communication, ask difficult questions up front, get alignment, share data, and when something's not right, you know, put our hand up and say, here could be some solutions. What can we do? And I think that authenticity just screams through. So I never thought I'd be here for 8-9 years, but I'm probably more passionate about this now than I was about football 20 years ago. And again, I think that's a dead rare thing as well. So we're able to then attract other people with that passion and kind of go and do it together.
Brilliant, Nicky. As I said, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for coming along to Success and Excuses podcast.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.